It's Monday, May 2nd, 2011. In this week's BeakerBeat, J&J's brass are tired of hearing about recalls and mistakes, so they're doing something about it. They've created a diversion. More on that, plus it's the latest, greatest boardroom plan in the life sciences biz, and everybody's doing it. We'll tell you what it is, and how a simple technology could reduce redundant testing and save millions of dollars. All that and more in this week's edition of BeakerBeat, brought to you by Daiichi Sankyo. To learn more about Daiichi Sankyo, visit their company webpage on Beaker.com. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice, thanks for tuning in. So what do you do when your name is being dragged through the mud, you're being publicly embarrassed, the media's beating you up? No, you don't do that. What you do is you make the biggest deal in your history. You spend $21 billion.
$100 billion.
It's the company's largest deal ever in 125 years of business. Johnson & Johnson has agreed to buy device maker Synth for about $21 billion in a cash and stock combo deal. J&J will merge it with its Depoy operations, creating an organization that would own nearly 28% of the orthopedic device market. That's more than twice that of second-place device maker Stryker. Plus, Synth has almost half of the trauma market. J&J has cited a 6.4% annual growth figure for the orthopedic segment of the device industry, an impressive figure considering the slowing growth in the branded drugs business. J&J owns around 250 separate companies under its corporate umbrella. Medical devices and diagnostics accounted for 40% of its $61 billion in 2010 sales, but the business has been hit by competition and hip and knee replacement recalls. Embattled J&J chairman and CEO Bill Weldon said in a statement, quote, "Orthopedics is a large and growing $37 billion global market and represents an important growth driver for Johnson & Johnson." End quote. Translation, I need this deal to make people stop talking about recalls, my salary, and the company's damaged reputation and stock price. Now, analysts claim it's a good fit for J&J, offering products and market share in the bone repair category. Meanwhile, one analyst says investors aren't bidding up Synth shares much because they are afraid the deal might not go through. The fear is some J&J shareholders might want the company to fix its quality control problems before spending all that cash. So basically, you distract people. What's that? It was nothing. Anyway, tell us what you think about this story or any story you see in today's show. It's very simple. Click on the orange button below me. Box will pop up. Type in your comments, send it to me. I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. I do want to hear from you. Unlike your spouse and your boss and your friends. And when you're done watching BeakerBeat, check out Beaker's blog and find out which country is taking the lead in the global vaccine industry. That story and more on Beaker's blog. Merck is just the latest to join the list of life sciences companies copying each other and the newest great idea, repurchasing their own stock. Merck plans to buy back up to $5 billion in shares, bringing its total share buyback program to $6.4 billion. They're not alone. Hospira just announced a $1 billion stock buyback plan, and back in 2006 they did their first buyback, a paltry $400 million plan that was only recently completed. A slew of pharma firms have recently set aside billions to repurchase shares, big boys and minnows alike. 2 months ago, Pfizer expanded its share repurchasing plans to $9 billion, with $5 billion of those buybacks to come this year. In February, GlaxoSmithKline and Novo Nordisk announced similar programs. GSK's is a $3.2 billion plan, while Novo's is about half that at $1.9 billion. AstraZeneca doubled its stock buyback plans to $4 billion in January, while in December, Novartis said it would buy back $5 billion in shares, in conjunction with its acquisition of Alcon. And finally, Bristol-Myers Squibb is about a year into their recent $3 billion buyback plan. Now, these are just the massive plans. Smaller companies are joining the fray too. So the real question is, how long will this trend continue? Stay tuned. St. Jude Medical's deal with Novation, a group purchasing organization, could be seen as a watershed moment for the device industry. Why? Well, the deal could pave the way for the industry to lower prices for medical devices and increase pricing transparency. Under the April 8th contract, St. Jude can continue to negotiate prices at the local level, but hospitals will no longer have to keep those prices confidential. Big picture here, this increased push towards greater transparency could lead to better deals for hospitals and eat into the profits of device makers. The FDA approved Boston Scientific's drug-coated stent Ion. The company plans to launch the device by mid-2012 when a supply deal with Abbott Labs for an older stent expires. Teva Pharma is finally back in business at its Irvine, California plant. More than a year after quality control problems ground manufacturing to a halt, the company is restarting production. However, the process will be slow and the plant won't be back to full steam until year's end. Teva claims the plant's problems cost it $230 million in sales last year. Merck is expanding its manufacturing of live virus vaccines in Durham, North Carolina. The drug maker plans to add a new 70,000 square foot unit to its Trayburn Corporate Park plant, bringing the total size to 270,000 square feet. Plus, with expansion comes jobs. Merck will grow the workforce there by 150 jobs to a total of 600 by year's end. Massachusetts and South Korean officials signed a 3-year memorandum of understanding. It calls for both governments to devise job creation and research and development opportunities in the life sciences and technology industries, among others. St. Jude Medical's Pacesetter unit was awarded $2.3 billion after a California jury found Youngying Zhu, a former St. Jude Medical employee, and his current employer, Nervicon, liable for stealing the division's trade secrets. St. Jude claimed Zhu wanted to use the data to save hundreds of millions of dollars in research while tapping a $4.6 billion Chinese market for implantable medical devices. More earnings to report now. Thermo Fisher Scientific saw 3% revenue growth year over year in the first quarter. The company posted revenues of $2.7 billion, up from $2.6 billion a year ago, beating analyst forecasts. Illumina posted a 47% jump in first quarter revenues. The firm's sequencing revenues grew 80% over the first quarter of 2010. And Becton Dickinson reported revenues of $1.92 billion for the second quarter, an increase of 6.8% from the same period last year, and easily topping Wall Street expectations.
Now, the making of a good compilation tape is a very subtle art, many do's and don'ts. First of all, you're using someone else's poetry to express how you feel. This is a delicate thing. So for this one, I'm thinking. When is this gonna stop?
So remember when mixtapes were popular? I mean, now it's all about playlists. It's very simple. You make a mistake, you can fix it. Back in the day, when you were making a mixtape, you had to time everything out perfectly. A lot of math involved. You had to have just enough space at the back end of that tape to make sure that final Foreigner song would fit, because you wanted to give the tape to the girl in your home ec class, and the only reason you took the home ec class was because she was in the class, and if you didn't get it right, you couldn't give it to her, and it would be a disaster. Not that I have that personal experience, but anyway, I digress.
I wanna know what love is.
The point is, new technology has come around where it makes everything easy. And that means putting something on a CD, which could actually save millions of dollars and a lot of time. A U.S. study in the Journal of Radiology suggests that unnecessary medical imaging tests could be reduced 17% in a way that's as simple as creating a mixtape per CD. I mean that literally, by copying patients' diagnostic medical scans to a CD when they are set to be transferred from one hospital to another. The reason is there's no central repository for medical images or a large-scale system to transfer images electronically between hospitals. Thus, a CD with diagnostic imaging would save money and time while providing critical clinical information for patients transferred between hospitals. If only these hospitals had access to the sum of all human knowledge in some sort of electronic form, then you could log on and look around and find things. I think they call it the internet. Anyway, that's it for this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.